The fact is that regardless of age or life experience, everyone has a story to tell. There is a deep well of anecdotes guaranteed to bring smiles to faces, an unending wealth of laughter to be mined for. These are tales to tell. So, what's your story?
Well, I was living in China like 10 years ago. I was a teenager, and it was New Year's Eve. And China in January, especially in the north, well, the north of China is very cold because it's close to Russia. You know, it's up there, Mongolia, Russia. And so it's New Year's Eve, and we're out on the streets. We're in an area where there's not too many foreigners. In general, you have pockets of the city of Beijing that are very, foreign, and then you have the Chinese part. So I was with a friend of mine, and we had gotten invited to some dance club. And we're walking down the street, and this man comes up to us. This Nigerian man came up to us and was like, "You guys want something?" And I was like, "No, we're good, thank you." And he was like, "We got this, we got this, we got this." And my friend was like, "Do you have ecstasy?" And this drug dealer said, "Yeah, I do." My friend bought it. And at first I was scared, and eventually my friend convinced me to take some. And we're walking to this club, and we don't really feel anything at all. And he said, "Hey, we should probably drink some water before we go into the club, because, you should drink water with this kind of stuff." And I said, okay. I'd never done it before. It was my first time. And, mind you, I'm, a teenager away from my home for the first time. So, I'm making stupid decisions, as you can imagine. So we stop into this, Beijing has a lot of these little family-owned tiny little markets that are not too much larger than this table. You kind of barely can even go inside. Mm-hmm. And it's an old Chinese man and an old woman staring at us as we come in. My friend puts the liter of the water that he just bought. He buys it. He goes outside. My turn. I take the same thing, and I'm paying, and I see them both look behind me like this to see what's going on outside. My friend, who had moments before said the drugs had not kicked in yet, I turn around and I see him. I want to see what these two are looking at. And I turn around and I see my friend in the middle of the street in below zero climate, snow all around, with his shirt off, and he's pouring the water all over his face. And I just remember him saying, "Bro, you have to try this. Bro, this is crazy." And I turn around and I'm just like, I'm sorry. I don't know. And I pay the money, whatever it was, and I walk outside. And when I walked outside, I also hadn't felt anything yet. Uh-huh. Mind you, first time ever doing drugs, so I didn't even know what to expect. Last time ever doing drugs. I walk out, and that cold air hits my face, and I just felt it. I knew exactly what he was feeling, and I just felt this voice in my head saying, walk into the middle of the street and take your shirt off and dump this water all over your face, because I felt hot and cold at the same time. I felt like my brain was sizzling. So these old people are basically watching us, and we're in the middle of the street with our shirts off, pouring this water all over our faces. We're not deterred from going to this club. We're still determined to get there, and we didn't even think about, the fact that we're soaking wet. It looked like we just dumped the whole water on our face. We didn't even drink any. So we arrived to this club with no shirts on, soaking wet, and it's very cold outside. It's snowing. People have those thick, like, parkas with the fur around the edges. And somehow we get in. I don't know how, but it's one of those nights where you look back and you say, how did that happen? It just did. I don't know. You're also a foreigner, so you can get away with stupid stuff sometimes, or at least you could back then. And we're in this club, and we're dancing, and I just was, like, feeling great, as you do on that drug. We're dancing. And my last memory of that night was walking outside, and I went across the street to a 7-Eleven, and I bought a bottle of what's called baijiu, which is like 60% alcohol. It's very strong, made of rice, clear liquid. It's the cheapest stuff you can buy because it's basically like you're drinking like gasoline, right? Yeah. My last memory was chugging that whole thing down, like in one go, a little bottle like this. That'll screw you up really bad. Not to mention, we were already, drunk and also on other stuff too. I then don't know how many hours had passed, but I opened my eyes, and it's completely silent, and it's completely dark. And my first thought was, okay, I'm blind. I've gone blind. I didn't know where I was. And I'm in complete silence. I don't remember how I got here, where I was, what time it was. I don't know anything. I just opened my eyes and it's still black. I don't know if you've ever opened your eyes to more blackness. It's really creepy. It's weird. You don't really, it's like sensory deprivation. You don't know if you're awake or not. And I had realized, I'm like feeling around to see where I am, and I had realized I'm in a booth of a restaurant or something. And I feel in front of me is a glass filled with beer, and my phone is inside of it. And I'm like reaching in, and this is all just through sense. I mean, through touch, you know. And I get my phone. I'm trying to slide. It was like a slider phone, and I'm trying to open it, and nothing's happening. So my phone's dead. I have my wallet and stuff, and I start to feel around. I'm like yelling, "Hello, anyone? Anyone?" Silence, complete silence. So I start to panic because I don't know if I'm blind or not, and I was kind of freaking out because I knew I did a lot of stupid stuff the night before, and I thought, gosh, maybe this toxic mix of this crazy alcohol and the drugs made me go blind. And I spent about 3 hours feeling around this restaurant. I didn't know it was a restaurant. And I'm feeling around, I'm touching the walls, I'm just yelling. I start to get really angry and anxious and freaking out and having like a panic attack because I was like just locked in darkness. I didn't know where I was. I was also still very drunk. So I knew not too much time has passed. Eventually I see really far away from me, maybe 30, 40 feet, so it's a bigger place than I thought. I see sunlight coming out from the bottom of a door. And I can't describe to you how happy I was. I like lost my shit because I realized I wasn't blind and there's an exit. And I've been trying to get out for the past 3 hours. And I walk over like really slowly because I didn't want to trip over anything. And I tried to open this door, and it's a really flimsy little back door of some establishment. And I can't open it, so at this point I'm already losing my shit because I just want to go home, and I didn't know what happened to me. I ended up kicking the door, and it opens. Sunlight floods this place, and I realize where I was. And where I was this bar that was not too far away from the place we were partying. This bar was in fact half bar, half little music venue. But the venue was actually pretty big. So the sunlight shoots into the room, and I realize that I'm on the stage, and this is like the back, the artist entrance. Floods the stage. I see the little amphitheater thing. I'm like, oh, cool, I'm on a stage. I know where I am. And I was pissed off. Sunlight comes in, and I see like 8 really nice guitars, Fenders, all these nice cool stuff. I see one guitar wrapped in tiger print, and I'm like, that's mine. So I put it on, and I march out this door with like still messed up t-shirt. It's cold as hell because it's the morning, with a guitar on me, and I'm like, screw these people. They locked me in here, and I've been trying to get out of here for like the past 3 hours. I'm taking this guitar. I don't care. So I'm walking through this alleyway, and it's a very tight alleyway. There's no other way out of the alleyway. It's just the door leads to this alleyway, and then it's maybe 2-3 feet wide, this alleyway. So I'm kind of like walking sideways with a guitar, and it leads me, and it turns, and it leads me to another door. So the only way out is through another door to enter another building. I go through this other building, and it's very quiet in this place too, but it was open. So I go in, and I realize as I'm tiptoeing down this hallway that I'm in a hospital now. This place was connected through alleyway to a hospital. And now I'm still messed up, still drunk, probably still a little bit on drugs too. And I'm walking through this hospital, and I see that it's like an old person sort of like loony house, because it's just these people chained in beds. And I'm walking through the hallway, like looking in each room, seeing different stuff. In every room there's like a different person screaming, you know? And they're tied to the beds. And I'm walking with my guitar like, holy shit, what am I doing here? This is really sketchy, but it's the only way out. And then I finally make it to the lobby, and I see the glass doors, and I'm like, thank you, God. And I run over, and I try to open the doors, and they're locked. And then I just like lost it at that point, because all I want to do is go home. And I just start pulling these doors that are locked. They had like a chain on them. Like there was no way, because it was a mental institution, so they locked the front. And I'm like pulling it, screaming, and all of a sudden I hear a woman at the front desk that was behind me. I didn't even see her because I just walked and made a beeline for the door. She freaks out, and she starts screaming at me like in Chinese. I didn't really understand what she was saying, and I'm screaming at her with this guitar on me, like still totally messed up, like screaming, and she's screaming at me. Neither of us understand each other. Finally, security comes, tries to arrest me because I'm like coming out of this other place. All of a sudden I'm in the lobby with a guitar in this mental institution. Eventually lets me out, and then I took the train back to my house. It was like 1 p.m. I realized. I got home, and all my friends from last night were like, "Oh my God, he's there! He's not dead! Oh my God, he's still alive! Where'd you get that guitar?"